explain what this picture shows you. And the thing is, last century we had a lot of archaeologists here in our town, and they tried to paint a model how approximately the palace was looking like. And here is that model. So first I'm going to explain where the gates are, then what the streets are, then the division of the palace, and then if you have some questions you can ask. So, we started from here. This would be the golden gates north, silver gates east, bronze gates south, chipped part of the wall, but iron gates west. Once more, we use these gates as direction points. So just, if you need it, so it's stuck in your mind. So, gold north, silver east, bronze south, and iron west. So by every, basically, world side, we would have the gates. And then the original plan of the city was the same one like the original plan of every Roman city. It's always cross-shaped main streets. You see the cross. So it is the same original plan. We have two main streets like every other Roman city. So this street goes from the north towards the south, and that is Cardo actually. So Cardo goes in direction north-south, meaning cardiovascular system basically. And then the other street is this one, Decumanus. Decumanus goes in direction east-west. So Cardo and Decumanus are meeting on the main square or a Roman forum basically. So that will be the middle of the palace. And then the streets are also doing the division of the palace. The square footage of this palace is roughly around 30,000 square meters. Diocletian started to build this in 295, he moved inside in 305. So construction period was 10 years. But Diocletian already at the beginning of his rule, he started to ship decoration from Egypt, so that was the time when he already knew that he's going to build this palace. Diocletian loved construction, so he wanted to be a builder, then he became the emperor, and then he played a both builder as the emperor. So, first I'm going to explain where he was living. So, he only wanted to have the sea view and fresh air, like we all, so he lived here. The southern section of the palace, meaning that Diocletian only took 30% of the palace for himself only. And then the rest of the palace was used for many public purposes. So this would be private imperial section. Then this middle section over here would be religious center of the palace, back then, still is. Back then it would be the temples, today this is the cathedral, this is the baptistry, main square, so it still remains religious center, I'm sorry. And above the religious center, we had these two buildings which were looking the same basically. But this was a residential building, that is where we are standing now, so the northwestern square of the palace, and that would be where the soldiers would be living. We don't know the exact number, but 2,000 to 3,000 guards only, because someone had to take care of those decorations which Diocletian brought, basically stole from Egypt. And that would be the camp or castrum, fortified military camp in the Latin language. There was a question whether the Roman guards and generals and so on were living inside of Roman palaces the same lifestyle like the emperor himself would live. And that was a really a question which no one could answer because no one was living at the time. But here this palace is a Roman palace, so there was no better place in the world than here to prove that. Guards were living over here. And then this, which we have just uncovered last summer, because now we have a modern building over there, which is under excavation. As they lifted medieval floors, they found deep pools beneath the floors. So now we can say that this section was the spa complex for the soldiers, meaning that the soldiers here had easy access to their own spa. They had their own spa here, but Diocletian had his own spa here. Diocletian servants had their own spa here. So in this palace, even the servants have the right to rest, for recreation, to speak amongst each other and so on. So that theory here was proven that Roman soldiers and servants were not treated as slaves, but way better than that. So they were true democratic society even back then, basically. So the camp, the spa complex, religious center, and imperial apartment, basically. Now what we are going to do when I explain this is to go opposite of here for me to explain that modern building and how we found out what it actually was. The only thing which remains for me to explain is that the whole palace was built on a hilly terrain. So by the Golden Gates up north, there would be a hill which was sloping towards the sea. And then as the Romans started to build this whole Diocletian's apartment, they were left with no solid land anymore to build on, and then basically that whole section is sandy soil, even the sea bottom is sandy here, and that is why they decided at some point to dig into the hill to make the basements, which are going to basically support the Diocletian's apartment, which is above. So the basements are only beneath Diocletian's apartment, so only this section over here. And this is the sea. Today we have the promenade in between the sea and the walls, and there was a question whether we always had it. Our promenade was built in the 18th century as we see it today by French, I already told you that, but also 18 years ago it was excavated and renovated. That is when they changed these tiles, old tiles, for techno-concrete tiles. We are still mad about that whole story, the worst crime of history of our town, basically. And then along with renovation, they digged down there to see if they're going to find something, and they found the Roman promenade. It is still down there. It would be much less wide than it is today, so 3 to 5 meters only, little dock, a marina, and so on, but that is today below the sea level. So the sea has risen for 1.5 meters since the Roman time, 1.4 to be exact. This is why this whole lower part of the palace is not optional for excavation anymore, only the upper part. So that's why we still have excavation going on, only here. The rest is long gone, washed away with the sea, you know. So do you have any questions?
How long did it take to build?
10 years, approximately. 10 to 15, because we believe that some of the things were not still finished when he moved inside. We did not apparently have a roof over here when he moved inside. Some things here in his apartment were not still finished. So we think maybe 10 to 15 years tops, but probably 12, something like that. Anything else?
What did you say about the floors?
Limestone. This
Yeah.
is limestone.
Okay, that's not what was there before.
The thing is, the whole city, the walls and the floors were built out of limestone, already in Roman times. As Venetians came, they had to renovate all the floors just because of destruction of the Roman buildings and building medieval new buildings, which has left the whole city in ruins, basically. So Venetians renovated the floors with the same limestone again. Yeah, because we have a quarry on the island of Brač, which is across the city, and from there they were pulling the limestone here. And this was also used to build the White House in Washington. A fun fact. Yeah.